have no idea what that would be, what that is like, what multi-billions of dollars is like. So there's really no connection to it. So I can stand in front of a mirror and say, I'm a multi-billionaire over and over and over again. And there's really no connection to that because I don't really have a sense of what that is. Now, if we're just talking about $1 million, okay, yeah, I have a sense of what that is. I can connect to that. And so I can actually envision moving toward that. So if your affirmation is way too vague, once again, there's going to be a lot of frustration because there's no real connection to it. So the words are quite meaningless. There's nothing in there for you to gravitate towards because you're not really connecting with what that is because you don't know what it is. Now, there's a lot of affirmations about money. This comes up a lot. And like I said, it could be the problem could be very specifics of how much money you're going to make, by what time, how you're going to do it. And it's really not going to work that way at all, which is going to create a lot of frustration. Now, then there's the I'm a millionaire, I'm a billionaire, I'm a multi billionaire. And what happens is if you stand in front of a mirror and say something like that, there is a part of your mind that has to reconcile the truth that you are not that. If I stand in front of a mirror and say, I'm a multi billionaire, part of me wants to believe that. That's the reason why I'm saying the affirmation. And in believing that, I believe that I'm suddenly going to create it, which I can tell you right there is some flawed logic. And so I can stand there and say this, and one part of me wants that, but there's going to be another part of me that says, "Well, we got to stay we got to stay grounded in reality." And in staying grounded in reality, I have to acknowledge that I'm not, in fact, a multi-billionaire. And this creates an internal conflict between one part of you that's trying to be delusional and another part of you that's trying to stay grounded in reality and stay sane. What would be so much more beneficial for anyone saying affirmations regarding money is not to focus on the money itself. Because the truth is, very, very few people are actually motivated by money. I'd say there's rare cases of people who are actually motivated by money. And one of them is a very dysfunctional way, which is people who measure their self-worth in terms of dollars. Now, if you think that way, chances are you're probably on the narcissistic spectrum. And you were probably someone who doesn't mind cheating other people, and um, any loss of money or paying for anything almost feels like losing blood. It's like any loss of money, anytime I have to pay for something, it feels like it's lowering my self worth by having to part with that money. So it's kind of crazy with that mentality, but there are people who are like that. Chances are you're not like that. So you're not motivated, most likely, by the money itself. You're motivated by what you believe the money will get you. And that could be more freedom. And if you get more specific about more freedom, what does that mean? Could mean that you're traveling more. You can pick up anytime you want, go wherever you want to go. You like that sense of freedom. And so that's what you really want with the money. Maybe you want a big house, big, nice, comfortable house on the water, or you want a really nice car to drive around in, or you want to move somewhere else. So what I'm getting at here is it's not so much the money, it's what you believe that money is going to do for you. It's what that money will get you. That's much better. That's a much better place to put your attention, to focus on what it is you want that money to do for you, rather than just saying affirmations about something you're not. Which, like, again, what will happen is you'll create an internal conflict in yourself. One part of you that believes this, one part of you that doesn't, and you're going to be in a fight about this. This is not going to help you get closer to what you want. However, if you envision what it is you want, not money itself, but what the money will do for you, what it will create for you, what it will enable you to do, now that's very interesting to your mind because this is what you want. So you're going to gravitate toward it more likely. Saying affirmations is not going to help you do that. The other thing about affirmations is where we start to get into confidence. And I'm going to give you a tip on confidence and affirmations that I have not heard anyone else saying that in a moment. Affirmations put attention on what you don't have because you're trying to affirm that you have something that you don't. So that only puts the focus on the fact that you don't have it. If I keep saying to myself, I have $1 million, like I said, part of you wants to believe that, part of you says, no, that's not really true. You're only drawing more attention to the fact that you don't have it. If you say, I'm a infinitely confident person, and on and on and on about confidence, and there's going to be a part of you that says, no, you're not. You're not. You're not confident. That's why you're saying these affirmations. So a lot of times you're shining a light and putting more attention on what you don't want by saying an affirmation, because it's just simply not true. It's not how you're feeling. The reason why you're saying the affirmation is trying to capture something that you don't have. And in doing that, you have to acknowledge that you don't have it, instead of just putting your attention on, well, how do I get it? What do I do? What do I need to do to get it? Now, the one that I've been hearing recently, and I guess I've heard before, but I am doing a little bit of research for this live, is affirmations about what other people will do for you. I, f- I I don't understand this one, and one of the ones that I saw in a video was every something along the lines of this: every day, a hot, high value man texts me, and it was a person who was very much into like law of attraction and that sort of thing, and a woman who was, I guess, teaching women how to build their self esteem. So what happens when no high value men are texting you that particular day? Then what happens? Well, if you're saying this to yourself every day a hot, high value man texts me, and then it's not happening, what do you think happens? How do you think you feel about that? I'll give you another one. People give me respect every day. Now, I've heard that affirmation before. It might have even been an affirmation I've used for myself. People give me respect every day, and I'm saying that, I don't know, 10, 100 times a day, and then I go out in the world throughout the day, and I don't get that kind of respect that I'm thinking of when I'm saying that affirmation. What do you think happens? Well, first of all, before I go into what happens, you don't control other people. So why would you put yourself at the mercy of other people? Basically, what you're doing is you're saying, if people don't give me what I want, then I'm going to be mad and unhappy. If I don't get what I want, if I'm dependent on someone else to give me what I want and I don't get it, what happens? I get angry, I get bitter, I want to blame other people. I judge other people. I say, well, they don't understand, they're stupid. How can they not see who I am? This is not where you want to put your attention. If you're putting yourself at the mercy, your validation at the mercy of what other people think and what other people give you, you will always be anxious and insecure, because your validation is out of your control. It's dependent on what someone else thinks or gives you, and people's opinions change all the time. And depending on who you're talking to, you're going to get a different opinion about who you are. And some people might give you respect, and other people won't. Doesn't matter what you do; they may never give it. And so you're constantly trying to people please to get that. Now, I just hate to even think of any woman who would say an affirmation like, every day a hot, high value man texts me, and then they don't get that. Then what is their behavior that follows that? What do they start doing? What do they have to do to get that kind of someone to take that kind of action? It sounds to me like a lot of attention seeking. Um, it it sounds like a lot of people pleasing. This is not a good use of your time. It's not a good use of your focus. And if you don't do those things and you don't get the responses that you want from people that you're saying in your affirmations, you're usually inviting anger and bitterness when you don't get it. Now let's talk about confidence. A lot of times people are saying affirmations to build confidence, fake confidence. Fake confidence is trying to pretend like you feel confident when you actually don't. In NLP, what I study and teach, a lot of times people just try to anchor in confidence. And really, what that is, in the best case scenario, anchoring confidence what it might do for you when it works is put you in a state of being a little more relaxed, not so intense, not so self-conscious, where you can kind of open up and gain more access to more resources in the moment. So it's very state dependent. I like to go deeper than state. I like to go to the level of quality, an actual aspect of who you are, and work on that rather than a state which is fleeting, can come and go. So it might work to an extent when you try anchoring confidence. But that confidence that you're anchoring in, you're most likely referencing actual experiences where you actually did feel confident, not generated from saying affirmations. When I'm speaking about all of this, I am coming from place of having tried affirmations for years and it not working and wondering, okay, well, why doesn't it work? And the more I learned NLP and understood what actually works, it became quite obvious. But when I talk about affirmations and I talk about how they don't really work most of the time, and in fact, they cause more problems, people get really upset about this because I think for a lot of people, saying affirmations kind of becomes more of a religious ritual and not that it's actually connected to a religion. I'm using that word to mean that it's a way of thinking, a very fundamentalist way of thinking. So this is probably the most important thing I can tell you on this in this video that you should write down and really think about if you're using affirmations, thinking of using affirmations, not sure what you want to do about it, especially if it relates to confidence. And that is, there is no way fake confidence eventually turns into real confidence. That just doesn't happen. I remember when I was a kid growing up and people were getting into bodybuilding, going to the gym. There was a local gym. And I remember people saying, as kind of like a criticism, well, you got to be careful with that because when you build muscle and then you stop working out, the muscle turns to fat. That is physically impossible. That is scientifically impossible. Muscle does not turn to fat, and fat never turns into muscle. And I think that's pretty obvious to people now. I think it wasn't so obvious maybe 30 years ago, but I think you understand that like fat is fat and muscle is muscle. Well, you can build muscle and you can lose muscle. You can gain fat and you can lose fat. Then one doesn't turn into the other. It's like saying, wow, okay, I left a hamburger out in my home and your dog or your roommate comes along and eats it, you don't realize that, but when you come back to find the burger and it's not there, you go, "Wow, that hamburger turned into thin air." No, of course it didn't. There's a more logical explanation for that. So I think what a lot of people are doing without really truly looking at this in a critical way or really thinking about it, they think if I can start with fake confidence, eventually that fake confidence will turn into real confidence. And we even have a term for it. It's called fake it till you make it. Now, most people, when they fake it until they make it, they never make it. They're faking it, and that's getting in the way of them actually making it because they're putting their investment and their attention and their focus into the fake part of it and not to cultivating real confidence. What is real confidence? Real confidence is when you are certain about something. If you've been driving for many years and you've been working at, say, a particular place for a few years and you commute there every day, there are probably days when you commute to work and you don't actually even remember driving to work. Why? Because you're so certain about how to drive that it's not a big deal. You just get in a car and do it. You also know exactly where you're going. So you don't have to think about that either. It's basically on autopilot. And there's a lot of certainty taking place there. Certainty of how to drive a car and about where you're going and how to get there. That is what confidence is. You don't even have to think about it. Confidence is not slapping my chest, running around on a stage, hearing trumpets in my head, whatever the. I know a lot of people are kind of walking around, living their own movies in their head and their own, movie previews with epic music and all that, and really trying to build themselves up. But then they get into an actual situation that require that confidence would really serve them, and their confidence just goes away. Like say in a social situation, they're pumping themselves up with all this internal things that make them feel pumped and proud and powerful. But in reality, when they come face to face with that attractive stranger or who knows what else, having to do that confidence would have really served that person in that particular situation. The confidence is gone. It just evaporates because it's not real. It's not real confidence. So it's something like self confidence. That is confidence about who you are, and that means that you are certain what you're good at, but also you also know what you're not good at. So you're not going to get yourself into certain situations of pretending to be something that you're not, or pretending that you have certain skills or abilities that you don't. That is what true confidence is. I can accept my flaws, I can accept my weaknesses. I also know what I'm good at, and I know what I like. I'm familiar with my values, and even if I'm put in a new situation, I know what I want out of the situation because I have a lot of self awareness. That is what true confidence is. True confidence is not about pretending that you have something that you don't, or that you are certain about something that you're not, or that you have a skill or an ability that you actually don't. So fake it till you make it is not going to get you there. You at some point have to learn what it is you need to learn in order to be successful in that particular situation. Without that, the confidence is never real. And this is so pervasive, in fact, that if you're in the habit of the fake it till you make it, building fake confidence, you could put yourself in a situation where you do become successful because eventually you do learn the things that you need to learn. You become good at what it is you need to become good at. But because you're so invested in this idea of fake it till you make it or saying affirmations for confidence, that you start to experience imposter syndrome. You do have the competence, but you're not making the connection of your competence to the confidence in that. So this can really get in your way, and it can actually destroy your confidence even when you have the competence. And that's what true confidence, that's where it actually comes from. It comes from competence. If you are competent at something, if you're competent at something, confidence is natural. It's just an accurate assessment of where you are with that. If you are competent at driving, you're likely going to be confident. If you are competent at a martial art, you're going to be confident in being able to handle yourself. Now that's the typical way that it goes, and that's an accurate assessment of where you are. But some people are not assessing where they are accurately. They can be competent about something, but not feel confident about it. And I think this is one of the reasons for that is this idea of faking it until you make it, or not understanding what true confidence is. So they really focus on, well, it needs to be a certain feeling that I'm experiencing. I don't always experience it. Instead of going to the actual fact of their competence and assessing that and saying, okay, I actually am competent at this. So I can go and do it. And now I can connect with that confidence. But if you're invested in faking it for years and years and years, chances are you're not going to have much of that connection there. You're not going to accurately assess your competence because you're not realizing that's where that feeling of confidence that you crave that's where it truly comes from. That's where it actually has a foundation to draw from. Now, there's also a lot of people who are incompetent and are confident, and that's what I'm calling fake confidence. And a lot of times that will come from practices like affirmations, trying to tell yourself you are something that you aren't, telling yourself that you have something that you don't. You delude yourself into believing it, but it's not actually an accurate assessment of your competence. We all know people like this, and maybe we've all been that person from time to time where I think I'm really good at something. I like to brag about it because that's furthering my trying to get other people to believe it. That I believe that helps with my fake confidence. If I can get other people to believe it. And then when it comes time to actually face the truth in a reality of some sorts, then I fall apart. One of the martial arts, or the martial art that I do now, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, one of the reasons why I really love it so much is because there's such truth in it. You either submit or you don't. You either win the match or you don't. There is no willing myself, or it's there's just a purity of truth. It either you're winning or you're not, you lose or you win. And that's just it. And you can come in all confident, and you can pump yourself up with fake confidence, but when it comes down to it on the mat, it's just who has more skill, who has more competence. And that's real life. So the more you slip into this fake it till you make it, fake confidence, trying to build yourself up with affirmations, the less connection you have with reality, the less connection you have with what's going on around you, the less connection you have with what you're truly competent at. And this is why a lot of times people would rather focus on their fantasies in their mind that they've cultivated because they fall in love with their fantasy. They would rather focus on that than actually go out and take an action in the real world and put it to the test, because it will kill their fantasy. And they're just not willing to give up that fantasy. But in actuality, what does that look like in a life? Well, that looks like you doing nothing, sitting there and too worried about crushing your fantasy, too worried about what other people might think to ever do anything. So we need to get out there and build our competencies. We need to get out there and do things, and the more we do things, the more confident we become about them, because we know more about it. We have more certainty about it. Now, most people come to me. I would say about half the people who come to me for coaching want the confidence before they have the competence. They have a they want to become a public speaker, or they want to do more public speaking. They don't have the confidence to do it. So they want me to just give it to them so that they can then go and do it. And I'm like, that's not how it works. You got to build competence. And then when you build that competence, then you will be more confident. So if you want to do public speaking, you have to get out there and do lots of public speaking. So you cultivate that competence, and then the confidence will come. It'll be natural. And so people ask me, well, I don't feel like I can do what I want to do until I have the confidence. What do I do about that? I'm stuck. And what I tell people about that is, well, first of all, like I've been saying, don't try to fake that. What are you competent at? And start there. I assure, I assure all of you watching, you are a competent learner. You've been doing it your entire life. Now, some people say, well, I'm a slow learner, I'm a fast learner. You're comparing yourself to other people, and that's a confidence killer. So stop comparing yourself to other people. Okay. You are hardwired to learn. You've been doing it your entire life. You learn to tie your shoes. You learn the language without even trying. You learn to walk without ever setting a goal or saying any affirmations. You are a natural learner. When you can connect with that and see how competent you are as a learner, that should give you plenty of confidence that anything you take the time to work with, to do, if you spend enough time on it, you will learn it and you will become competent at it. And then the confidence will follow. And when the confidence follows, feels pretty good, you will do more of that thing. And the more you do it, the more competent you become, the more confidence you get. And that's just how it works. True confidence is always attached to competence, how certain you feel about your capability. All right. It is possible to avoid the pitfalls of typical affirmations and find some that are not harmful, but I still doubt their effectiveness. I recommend that you spend time and effort on more effective techniques and processes like learning NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming, so you can recode and restructure your internal processing to shine more of a light on the experiences you already have that will empower you and give you true self confidence. I assure you, you have so much experience already in your life, far more than you realize. And that if you just, NLP is the most effective thing I've ever used to do this, but if you can just reorganize that information in your experiences to put more attention and focus on when you are doing something what you consider of high value and of being competent at whatever it is that you want to be competent at, there is so much gold already inside of you to make you extremely confident in who you are. It doesn't mean that you're going to be confident about everything out there. There are many things that I'm not confident about. I am not confident about being a musician. Why? Because I can't play a single musical instrument. Now, does that affect my self confidence? Not at all. Not at all, because there's no reason for me to feel bad about myself for not being able to play a musical instrument. My self-confidence has to do with how do I feel about myself? Am I happy with me? Am I happy with my life? Do I feel like I have a strong sense of who I am and what I want? Yeah, and there's also a lot of what I don't know too, and I accept that as well. There's a lot about me I don't know, and there's a lot about what I can do, what I'm capable of that I don't even have I have no clue about, at least not yet, and that's fine. That's what self-confidence is. I know that I'm a competent person, and I know that I can learn anything that I take the time to sit and learn and work at. You do too. And that's where your sense of confidence should be coming from, not from trying to pump yourself up while, standing in front of a mirror saying the same thing over and over again. And if you've never had the experience yet with affirmations, but you insist on continuing to say affirmations, if you've never had this experience, you will soon. If you continue to use affirmations of pumping yourself up, walking outside, and the first time somebody says something rude to you or somebody cuts you off in traffic, whatever you built up in that 15, 20 minutes of saying affirmations evaporates instantly. It's gone. Why? Because it has no foundation. It's not connected to anything that feels real to you. If it felt real, you wouldn't have to say affirmations. You wouldn't have to try to convince yourself it's true. You know it or you don't. All right. Now I'm just curious. I've got a few comments here. I'm going to answer a few questions. Did you check out my video from last Wednesday? I mentioned it earlier in this live. I'm just curious because I use it as an example about how my attention was in the wrong place, and this is part of the problem with saying affirmations is putting your attention in the wrong place. And if you didn't check it out, you can find it in the description of this video below it. If you're watching this on Facebook, it's probably above the video, and it'll probably be the end screen when this live ends. Let me take a look at your comments and questions here. Glad to be here. The title was so intriguing. Oh, well, welcome. Glad you're here too. Thoughts on Mel Robbins saying that confidence is the willingness to try. Personally, that sounds more like courage, and confidence is what results when it works out. Um, well, you got to say, okay, well, what gives you that? What brings you to that place to be willing to try? And I could say that, yeah, confidence is knowing that if you try and fail, that has nothing to do with your self worth. And I think that's what it stops most people is they believe they have a feeling of what a sense of worth, right? And that could be lower, that could be high. Well, first of all, there's no such thing because you got to think about how are you measuring that. There's no such measurement that can tell you what you're worth. It doesn't exist. Please show me if you think it does. It doesn't. And so that usually comes from comparing yourself to others. You compare yourself to people who you believe are you're better than, and yeah, you might get a little boost of confidence, but that's a very dysfunctional kind of confidence that comes from judgment of other people. And then if you play that game, eventually you can't turn it off when you encounter people who you believe are of higher value than you. And when that happens, you're going to feel of low self-worth. So in general, I think most people are walking around with a kind of low sense of self-worth. Not not like super low, but not high either. And then when they think about trying something and failing, they go, "Whoa, that's gonna push my self-worth even lower, and I'm just clinging to what I have right now. So it's better not to try," right? Or people tell themselves all the time, "It's better not to try until I'm absolutely certain that what I'm going to try is going to work out." And then if you do that, there's no real challenge, there's no real risk. So whatever reward comes from that is extremely low. It's not gonna pay off very well because it's so benign and so small. It's like, something that is guaranteed. There's no risk. It's not gonna be much reward. So I would say the willingness to try is, well, I know it doesn't matter how many times I fail. That doesn't say anything about my value or my worth. as a person because nothing really does except for, however I perceive it, which is within my control, and I can validate that for myself. So I think what a lot of people miss is that when you're going to get out there and try something new and you've never done before, you need a lot of experience to understand how to be good at it. When it came to doing YouTube, it's kind of on my mind because that last video I just put out, I did a video every single day for 8 months. Why? Because I didn't know what YouTube was about. I didn't know what I needed to know to get views, to get subscribers. I didn't know any of those things. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to do a lot of this so that I can figure it out very quickly. If I had instead thought to myself, I'm going to be this huge YouTuber and even my first video is going to get 1 million views. And like maybe I said affirmations about that. I stood in front of the mirror and said, I'm a YouTuber with 1 million subscribers. And I have every video I put out gets 1 million views. Imagine if I said affirmations like that, I don't know, for a month before I started my YouTube channel. And then when I started my YouTube channel, first video goes out, you don't get any views. Second video that goes out gets 2 views. Third video that goes out that gets 3 views. It's kind of what happened for me. Imagine if I had built it all up by saying those affirmations. Do you think I would have continued creating videos on YouTube? Hell no. Hell no. I would have been devastated because I had built up this fantasy in my head about how it was going to go. And then reality doesn't match up to that. That feels devastating. And then I go, oh, I'm just not good enough. I'm a terrible person. Or I blame other things. Oh, it's the algorithm, all of that nonsense. But what does that do? That only serves to hurt me. I do less. I don't do more. I don't connect with people. I don't grow my business, right? That wasn't the approach I took. The approach I took was get as much experience as I possibly can so that I can understand how this works as fast as I can so that I can become successful. And so people are like holding back from doing the simplest things because they're afraid, well, if I fail, that means I'm a worthless person. I'm not good enough. And so why risk that? So just keep living, you know, occasionally taking the smallest risks. It's not going to ever pay off. None of this stuff has to be attached to your self-worth. In fact, you will feel better about yourself if you relax all that stuff and just get out there and try stuff and just see what happens. What feedback do I get? You'll feel good that you're getting out there and doing those things. When I got divorced, I was 37 years old, getting back into the dating game. Okay, my screen has frozen. Okay. All right, there we go. My screen froze for a while. I don't know what was going on. Whenever I got divorced, I was suddenly back in the dating game at 37, and I honestly could say I don't know what I'm looking for in a partner. I really don't. I know a lot of the bad stuff that has happened, so I don't want that, but I don't really know what I want. So I started dating a lot, and also I found out that dating apps, man, this as a guy, the dating apps are really stacked against you, and not because there's anything specific about what the dating apps are doing. It's just that there's like 70% men on it and 30% women. So that wasn't working out very well for me. So I thought, okay, I need to meet as many women as I can. I don't know why my screen keeps freezing. Okay, happened again. I knew I needed to get out and date as much as I could to understand what I was actually looking for in a partner and to hopefully have more choice and instead of just settling with just anyone who liked me. Now, I could have taken it on as like, I've got to get out there and meet my soulmate on the first date, or told myself something like that, and as affirmations. All right, I don't know what's going on with my computer, but I keep it keeps freezing. I don't know if it's freezing on the other end, but it is on mine. I'm gonna try to get through this as quickly as possible. So here it says, I must say affirmations work for me and boost my positive attitude. I started feeling better and grounded. I was more confident to get what I wanted. It works for me, but okay. You didn't quite finish that. Um, all right, I'm gonna have to get off this live as soon as possible. I'm not sure what's going on. I think it's my computer. What if you're student teacher, if you have no confidence to begin with and have to face a class, then it's over? Confidence. So for John, who says, I'm going to try to get through this without before my screen freezes again. What if you're a student teacher, if you have no confidence to begin with and have to face a class, then it's over? Confidence in what? Confidence in what? If you're teaching something, you have to have some level of confidence in what you're teaching. If you're a human being, you have some confidence level in interacting with people. So what is it you don't have confidence in? When I stop saying the affirmations, it slowly goes away. So it's good work on the patterns and I guess to combine different techniques. If they're not working, if they go away, if your confidence goes away because you stop saying affirmations, is that real confidence? I don't think so. My confidence in my ability to drive a car is fine. I don't have to say affirmations in the mirror about that. My confidence in who I am is fine. If my confidence went away, my confidence in myself goes away when I stop saying affirmations, something's not right. Okay. That there's instability there. There's ambiguity, right? So, I mean, I guess if that's the only thing you've got, maybe it's better than nothing, but I would find something different. If you need to say affirmations to make yourself feel confident and it evaporates as soon as you stop, that's not that you're basically confirming everything that I'm saying here. Comparison is the worst thing, best thing I have become aware of and learned from your teachings. Thank you, Damon. Oh, you're very welcome. Affirmations work for me. So tell me what that means. How did affirmations work for you? Let's see. I had bad reception in my video. Keep up. Yeah, I think that's on my end, Tristan. I'm truly enjoying this helpful use. Well, glad you're here. Thanks, Damon, for this. It's helpful, not freezing here. Okay, so we should use contrastive analysis instead of affirmations. I think that's a part of it. I don't think that's necessarily the answer. I think assessing your competency accurately is where confidence comes from. Even if it's look, if you can say if you're not competent at something that you want to be competent at, just by saying owning the fact that you're not competent at it, I would say that takes a level of confidence. But if you go, "No, I must blind myself from the fact that I'm not competent and then play fake it till I make it until I become competent," you're going to run into a lot of trouble. You might end up getting there at some point, but it will take a lot longer and it'll be a lot more frustration. Instead, if you just say, "You know what? I'm not competent at this thing and I want to be, so I'm going to start working on it and I'm just going to, assess myself accurately every step of the way." That's confidence. And the more competent you become, the more confidence you're going to have. Affirmations will never ever give that to you. In fact, if the only thing that affirmations might do is give you an inflated sense of confidence that's not real, that's not grounded in true competence. And then sooner or later that's going to burst. Sooner or later, reality is going to destroy that fantasy. And that's actually a good thing because that's the only way that you're going to get to where you want to go. But unfortunately, what happens is if you built that fantasy over a long period of time, when you finally face reality and it's like cold water being thrown on you, most people shrink away. They don't move forward. They don't go, wow, okay, I made a wrong turn. Now it's time to get back on track. That's not usually what happens for people. They just think, "Oh, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. I didn't have enough willpower. I didn't have enough discipline, and so I quit, or I'm not going to try that again." Okay, step out of that. All right, it has nothing to do with that. All right. Well, thank you so much for showing up. And for those of you who are not live here, of course, you can put questions in the comment section and I will answer them. Also, in the description of this video, in addition to my last video that I uploaded, you will find values elicitation and also an assessment for identity level work. You take this, you answer some questions, and it shows you what's the best place to start to work on transforming yourself into the person you want to become so you can create the life you want to live. All right. Take care, everybody. Glad you're here, and look forward to doing another one, which may or may not be next week. I'm not sure just yet. All right.